So this is 5 years now. We've been talking to you about this since 2017 when you first launched this innovation lab. Why don't you tell viewers who haven't been along for that whole ride exactly what this is and why you started it?
Yes, it's an in-house accelerator that is focused on multicultural and women entrepreneurs. And we give them three things. We give them capital. We give them content, about 6 months of content that helps them to develop as founders. Because as you know, Becky, there's quite a journey between being a founder and a CEO. And we also connect them to some of our best investment banking clients, hopefully to help scale their business. And it really is our way of trying to close this gap that has existed for a very long time with respect to the inequity of the distribution of capital to women and multicultural entrepreneurs. And so far,
so you've invested in 31 businesses.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say you've invested in 31 businesses so far. What have you found? How have those businesses done?
Well, there's three things that I've found. Number one, and you've heard me say this before, it is not a supply issue because every year that we open up the invitation for applications, we are deluged with applications from entrepreneurs that are multicultural and are women with tech-enabled businesses across all verticals, whether it's med tech, health tech, energy tech, you name it. So no supply issue. The second thing is that these entrepreneurs are extraordinarily resilient. And again, no surprise, because it's so difficult for them to get capital. It takes quite a lot of grit, if you will, to even get to the point where you get to either our office or a VC's office. So I would argue that many of these businesses and these entrepreneurs are already de-risked. And the third thing that we have found is that they are extraordinarily resilient. And we really have seen this during this COVID-19 period, because many of these businesses have either pivoted or they have found a way to offer a new product or they have found a way to accelerate their businesses during this time. So we have had extraordinary results so far.
What's an example of that? What's some sort of innovation or a change that one of your companies is kind of dealing with in the midst of this pandemic?
Sure. I'll give you an example of one of the companies. One of the companies in our first cohort, Abdeco, which is the transportation company, they are now in another accelerator over at Hearst. And I will tell you that their businesses have soared probably 3x, 4x in the last few months, because, again, they have a proprietary distribution system where they can move products, and in this case, especially furniture and other household items from one place to another in a very efficient, cost-effective manner. We've seen another one of our companies, Blue Wave, which was in the last cohort, that has a disinfecting product where you can put the machine, let's say, in a hospital, and you can put a teddy bear in there, and it can remove 99% of MRSAs. And you can imagine in this COVID-19 environment, that is something that has exponentially grown with respect to demand. And I could go on with a few of our others from our first class, second, third, and fourth class.
I like the teddy bears. Carla, how many have you had in each class? Because 31 businesses, I would have thought 10 a year that you'd have 40.
Yes, no, we've had, in the first class, we had 5, Becky, and then we had 9 companies in the other 2 cohorts, and we have 9 that are with us right now. And then, as you know, this announcement is about doubling that. So I would expect that you will see in 2021, 20 companies that will come out of our lab. We'll have 2 different cohorts that will run at 2 separate times, all with the same focus on multicultural and women entrepreneurs. And we've had 2 exits already, as well as companies that have continued to raise successive rounds of capital. And in this class, we will have at least 4 companies that will complete rounds while they are in the lab. And that's unprecedented.
Wow. Carla, just in terms of how things have changed, let's say, over the 5 years that you've been doing this, I know when you first kind of started asking VCs, they were not interested in potentially, they wanted more of these companies. They didn't have them. And I think a lot of them were not doing things about putting either minorities or women as employees or on their boards or any of those things. Do you think it's changed? Have VCs become a little more open to the idea of funding these companies that they may have ignored in the past?
I do think, Becca, that we've made an impact. And one of the things that you and I talked about before is that the more data you put in the marketplace about how successful this opportunity is and what an extraordinary opportunity is, the more people would start to take a look at it and the more they might start to put their toe in the water. And obviously, on the back of the terrible tragedy with Mr. Floyd, you've seen a number of large companies announce a $100 million commitment to African-American entrepreneurs, or a $250 million commitment to women and multicultural entrepreneurs. So more and more people are at least making the pronouncement that they're going to be focused on this. And then there's obviously a lot of companies that have been highlighted. We've done a number. We did a special COVID-19 episode for our Access and Opportunity podcast, where we talked about Miriam Rivera and Ulu Ventures and one of her companies called Zoom, which is an on-demand rideshare, if you will, for children, and how that company had pivoted through COVID-19. So just in raising the level of visibility, now I think we are trying to remove the excuse of, I can't find any, because we're putting it right out there front and center. So I do see people starting to make changes either in their pronouncements and in their investment activity.